my name is Jamari Michael White, and I have lived in Fort Collins for a little bit over a year now. I'm the founder and the spiritual director of our nation's first ever spiritual health clinic for Black men. And so that's what I focus on is revitalizing the souls of Black men. So how do we revitalize the souls of Black men in our work? So the first thing we do is really ground our work in spirit. So that begins with me, that begins with all of our practitioners. We all move through our own healing processes, and that's one of the first important aspects of any kind of healing work that we're doing is that you're going to lead is how are you doing it for yourselves? And then we teach Black men to do it for themselves. And so supporting them with spiritual healing practices and foundational work. We've created a system. It's kind of like human design or Enneagram, if folks are familiar with that work. It's called Rooted Sun. And there are 10 soul types, and it's rooted in sacred masculinity and ancestral wisdom. And it really supports men in remembering who we are and why we're here on a soul level. So, not just knowing you're a father or your husband or, your title at work, but who were you when God first breathed life into you before you took your first breath here? And so a big part of the work is supporting men and remembering that and creating the kind of safe spaces where Black men in particular can have the support and the nourishment and the proper guidance to reconnect with spirit and with soul at that level. What does pride mean to me? For me, pride is all about self determination and self belief. And I identify as a Black trans man. And, you know, I can't really remember a time where I didn't feel some kind of pride in myself for whatever the reason was, because I just grew up in a household where I was often told I had to define myself for myself. If it was because I was Black or I grew up poor or whatever the reason might be, it was if you let the world define you, you're in trouble. And so for me, that's always been what pride has meant. And as I came into my trans identity, it just became another expression of that self determination and that self belief. And, in my work, it carries over in that way because so important. One of the things that we're always teaching the men that we work with is this is all about who you are as an individual. The spirit made you special, made you unique. If you're not here, nobody can replace you. And there's definite pride that we should all feel in who we are and in our uniqueness and what we bring to the world for that reason. So, how pride fits into my life in Fort Collins. I first came to Fort Collins because I was offered a job at CSU. And I've lived a little bit everywhere. I've lived in Louisville, Kentucky. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in New York. I've lived in DC. I've been in St. Louis. I've lived in Ohio, and so none of those places I kind of like chose to go. So a spirit brought me there in some way, and so similarly here, I had the job opportunity, but I only go where spirit tells me to go. And I remember I was doing my interview and I was walking around Old Town, and they had me staying at the Armstrong Hotel. And I was walking around and I just felt this strong energy of I can just be here. Like a lot of places I've lived, and I've loved everywhere I've lived, but a lot of places I live, I feel this pull on me that I have to be something in particular or that the world wants something from me. But when I walked around Fort Collins, I just felt like I could exist. Like there was no energy pulling on me. And it was a little bit, I was a little bit off, like looking around like, where am I? What's going on here? But I loved it so much. I mean, that's really when I made the decision that I would stay here and that I would come here is when I experienced that. And I think that's so special. This is a place that, it's no secret that there isn't a huge Black population here. But I feel like I like they should hire me as a recruiter because I genuinely am like, nah, Black folks should come here, and a lot of what holds people back is just that there's not a large population. But I think Fort Collins has so much to offer us. And if the only hold up is there isn't more of us. Well, let's just get more of us here, right? And so I that brings me pride to be living in a city that I actually feel excited about telling other people to come to. I would like to encourage people, especially in this moment that we're living in right now in our society, to just continue to stay connected to your heart. Stay connected to who you are as a person, stay connected to your vulnerability, stay connected to your humanity, because it's those aspects of ourselves that are going to enable us to not only move through this period and get past it, hopefully, um, but to come out of it with deeper relationships, with a deeper sense of community, with a deeper understanding of ourselves and what we stand for, what our convictions are, and with just deeper relationships and connections. And so that's what I want to encourage folks is to stay connected to your heart, stay connected to who you are, stay connected to that vulnerability. It can feel easy to want to guard yourself when it feels like there's a lot in the world and society that's attacking you. But our strength as people of color, as queer folks, as trans folks, is in the reality that we are tender-hearted people who love. And that is the most powerful thing that we can be right now is ourselves.